Good morning, everyone. I'm so grateful that you all are joining us this morning. I am Dr. Ericka Russell Petty. I'm a pediatrician in Savannah, Georgia, and I'm the current president of the Georgia State Medical Association. I want to welcome you to our Fall Symposium, African American Physicians in Georgia Beyond 2020. Today, we will initially we will cover the health of our community with our Savannah Mayor, Van Johnson. Then we will look at where we are now and what we can say so far on the future of our nation from our state senator, Lester Jackson. Throughout the symposium, you may enter questions in the chat box and we will try to address them. Then we will have a panel discussion with some of our current medical students across the state of Georgia as we try to impact the future of our African American physicians. To conclude, we will have Dr. Winston Price, who will present our new GSMA website to be used as a resource for our current physicians and our future physicians. As you may know, there is a shortage of African American physicians in our nation, and unfortunately, the percent of African American physicians is decreasing. For the 2019-2020 year, of the applicants qualified by MCAT scores and GPA for medical school, only 38% of the African American applicants were accepted to medical school. 43% of Hispanic applicants, 44% of Asian applicants, and 45% of white applicants were accepted. While medical school admission committees are working at increasing their acceptance rate of African American students, we must work on increasing the number of African American applicants. We will increase African American applicants by, number one, informing younger students of the classes and criteria that they need for college. Many of the students are not aware of the sciences that would be prerequisites for them. We will encourage and help children with the tools to apply for college. As you know, many students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. They do not have access to some of the schools to provide the classes that they need. And we want to make them aware so that they are better prepared as they get into high school and to college so that they will be able to apply to medical school. We want to help to eliminate the biases in standardized testing. As you're aware, those biases have been discussed throughout the years. We will serve as mentors for those interested in becoming physicians, and we will be providing a more unified support throughout the process. What we want to do is to increase the number of African medical students by, again, serving as mentors for those who are interested in becoming physicians. We want to provide mock interviews, and we want to be more involved in the medical school admission committees. As you know, 2020 has and continues to bring us many challenges. For this symposium, we wanted to provide some updates on the issues that have been facing our local communities. We know all issues affect the health of our community. And for this, we are going to have our Mayor, Van Johnson, who is going to speak to us. Mayor Van Johnson, the second, was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Mayor Johnson is a graduate of the New York City public school system. He earned his undergraduate and graduate degrees from Savannah State and Georgia Southern University. As a radio talk show host, political commentator, and author of local weekly columns, Alderman Johnson distinguished himself as an independent, thoughtful, and compassionate voice on current events. As a nationally certified human resources and Georgia certified law enforcement professional, Alderman Johnson has utilized his unique skill set as a sought after trainer, speaker, and consultant in these areas. In 2004, Alderman Johnson was elected as the first district alderman on the Savannah City Council. Alderman Johnson has demonstrated leadership nationally as only the fourth elected official from Savannah to serve on the board of directors of the National League of Cities. He was recently appointed to serve as chair of the advisory board of the National League of Cities, becoming the first Savannian to hold such an office. Alderman Johnson is nationally recognized as an innovator and thought leader in areas of youth development and engagement. Through his service over 20 years as the director of the Chatham County Youth Commission, he has continued to use his efforts to help the youth in our community. In 2020, he was elected mayor of Savannah. He received worldwide recognition for being the first mayor in Georgia to implement mandatory face coverings to help slow the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. Mayor Johnson, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Russell Petty, and to all of you who are up early joining us during this very remarkable time in a year that has been extraordinary for so many reasons. I'm supposed to be talking now, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, just make sure I'm good. But greetings from Savannah, Georgia, Georgia's first city, the mother city of Georgia, founded in 1733. And in Georgia, we're still here making history. Again, in a year that has been extraordinary for so many reasons, we are still making history here in Georgia, beyond the political landscape of what is occurring nationally as we await the designation of a president-elect and the crucial role that Georgia has played, despite the pandemic that has gripped this country for the last 8 months, in which in many places around the country, we're seeing record infections. Matter of fact, over the last 3 days, we've had over 100,000 infections in a single day, and hospitalizations are climbing up. In spite of the fact that we're living in a time in which relations between police and men of color are being reviewed and scrutinized, and monumental change is coming from that. Despite in the time when we have a pandemic that has made us stay still long enough to be able to notice some of the things that we have never noticed before, see some of the things we've never seen before, and really has moved and galvanized us to a time of action, I submit to you, it is a good time, a great time to be in the medical field. This is the time for us as you look at what is occurring and what has occurred at a pandemic that has exposed every single weakness in our social and healthcare delivery systems. Those that were sick have gotten sicker. Those who did not have access to health care has found that access, even harder. And that's why I'm so grateful for this association and people like Dr. Russell Petty and great folks that some that I know. I know my dentist, Dr. Ann Linton, is on here. So she keeps me she keeps me right. Um, but the fact is that in this case, it has been people in the medical field who have become the subject matter experts that we need. And I know here we had Governor Cuomo come down from New York. Dr. Russell Petty served on a task force that I put together to meet with um, medical and health experts from New York to talk about lessons they've learned there. And I'm glad to report that although around the country numbers are going up in Savannah, our numbers are still going down slightly. We instituted a mask ordinance on July the 1st, 2020. Um, Almost got taken to court about it. But the fact of the matter is that in us insisting that people wash their hands, wear their mask, and wash their distance. And if you're in the cities of Savannah's public space that you wear a mask, we're watching our numbers go down. Well, where do we go from here? Well, we go from here in that we might have a situation with a new president, one that is not trying to take away health care from millions of Americans. Where do we go from here? We're still now where people like you, people who do the wonderful things that you do in your community and across the country, are now positioned now to be the ones that we are coming around and we're asking for your advice. We're asking for your your information. We're asking for your leadership and your guidance. This is the time where we need the united voices of those in the medical field and those aspiring to be in the medical field to now start raising up in a loud concerted voices. And that's why I'm grateful for this association, because when I did the mask ordinance, the association stood with me and said, yes, that we need to wear masks. Although we have schools across the country that are opening up, some opening up where there is still significant indications of community spread, we need those physicians. We need those subject matter experts to say, no, this is not what we need to do. This is not the time for you or your profession, those aspiring to become in this profession, to be silent about the things that really, really matter. For us, everything else we're trying to do, everything, everything. When we talk about economic development, whether we talk about equity, whether we talk about jobs, whether we talk about social welfare, none of it means nothing. None of it means anything if if you don't have your health. Your health is your single most uh, important and most common denominator. If you don't have good health, if you don't have good information, if you don't have good access, then none of this other stuff means anything. And so that is why, I congratulate those of you who are um, in this work, and for those who want to be in this work, those that are aspiring, those that are in school, keep it going, stay focused. I know it might be hard, but you can do it. If all these other folks could do it, you could do it too. And for those that are considering a career, um, I will tell you that right now, when you look at where we're going, there is a COVID-19, but there was a COVID-18 too. There'll be a COVID-20. We need individuals who have a love and a propensity and a heart to take care of the folks. And so that is what the medical field and the medical profession does. And for those of you that are currently in practice, um, it might be uncomfortable. It might be a little outside of your uh, comfort zone, but we need you to be advocates. We need you to raise your voices. We can't have you in the safety and the security of your offices, just, hey, I'm going to, do what I got to do and go on home. No, you were blessed to be in these positions to raise your voice. You're subject matter experts, and people trust you more than they trust their mayor. And so, therefore, you have, I believe, a righteous platform for which to stand on about the things that matter. And certainly, health matters. Certainly, disparities matter. Certainly, equity should be the call of the day, but it's very hard to have politicians talking about it and healthcare professionals are not. If there are disparities, we need to speak on them as a community. We need to speak in a united voice. We need to work on how do we identify them. You know, the scientific method, I did pass that in school, to identify it, to call the thing, and then let's identify ways to fix that thing. And we're counting on you to be able to do that. So um, I know I can probably go on for days and days, and I don't want Dr. Russell Petty to come on and chastise me for talking too long. But I wanted to congratulate you for all that you're doing. But I also wanted to challenge you that in this strange and interesting time, God has made the comfortable uncomfortable, and this is an opportunity for us really to be able to set forth an equity agenda that deals with ending disparities. And I'm telling you, those that are in service, this is your opportunity to really stand up and help us lead our communities, give credence and backbone to our elected officials based on the science. And for those of you that are in school, continue to move forward. And those of you that are considering this wonderful profession that I was not smart enough to do, and that's the truth. I was not smart enough. I won't even tell you what my grades were, but for those of you, keep on going. We need qualified, righteous men and women in the medical profession to help us to make our communities well. I think that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Johnson, for all of your words of inspiration throughout the conference and throughout the year. It has definitely helped to carry us through these trying times. At this time, if anyone has any questions, you can definitely enter those into the chat box for Mayor Johnson.
And don't make it any no hard questions either.
Well, I am not seeing any questions. Um, the only question, I guess,
Oh, there is a question.
so yes, you can see the question, how has the mask mandate been doing in Savannah?
Well, to be honest, I probably say 60-40. Part of our problem is that we have a federal government at this point, a president that has not definitively ordered a nationwide mask mandate. As a result, our governor has not, he strongly recommends, but he has not ordered a mask mandate. And so that's left people confused. And to be honest with you, it's really politicized what should be a health issue. When I instituted the mask ordinance, it was emergency declaration. Dr. Russell Petty will tell you, it was based on talking with medical professionals. It wasn't based on talking to politicians. It was based on the fact that the CDC, the National Institutes of Health, and other professionals were saying the way you slow the spread down was to wear a mask. And because in Georgia, our governor wasn't saying it adamantly, and our president wasn't saying it, you had people saying, "Oh, I'm not going. You're not going to make me wear it. I don't care what you say. It's my right to not wear a mask," and and all that foolishness. So, some folks want to be defiant, and they do it. You know, you see examples. For example, now Mark Meadows, the president's chief of staff, has coronavirus. When I was growing up, my mom used to say, "A hard head leaves a soft something," and so, I mean, the fact that you're wearing a mask, it protects other people. You want other people to wear a mask to protect you. And so we're pressing on with it. We've given out over 20,000 masks here in Savannah. Our goal is not to ticket people. We want to make sure that we're helping people to follow the science. So thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you. We have another question. How can we help you spread the preventive information about COVID-19 virus?
Well, I think that events like this, I mean, is a very good way. Um, I mean, I think the good news, and I've told Dr. Russell Petty, I mean, these are opportunities really for you to spread the information that you already know. If you're telling your patients and you're telling people within your sphere of influence, there are enough graphics out there, wear a mask, wash your hands, watch your distance. And I mean, I've said it so much, I think I say it in my sleep. Spreading on those numbers, helping to define what some of these things mean. When we talk about community spread, a significant community spread, what does that mean? When we're talking about a 7-day rolling average as opposed to a 14-day rolling average, what does that mean? When we say that we want our 7-day rolling average to be lower than a 14-day because that shows a decrease. I think, the fact is people will talk to you and will ask you questions about things that they may not necessarily ask me about. For you to ask that question, are you wearing your mask? Are you washing your hands? Do you need hand sanitizer? I think those are the ways of being able to get people to do that. Now, encouraging people to get a flu shot is the big order of the day. We don't know what impact the annual flu will have on COVID-19.
Mm.
And for what I'm hearing is it's possible to have the flu and COVID at the same time. Can you
Indeed.
imagine that? So, I just think, you have the information. I think you just push it. I think you just have to make sure um, that you're just pushing it out. Even if you don't think people are listening, I'm telling you that you all are people of influence and people are listening to you, even if you don't think that they are. They are.
Thank you. We'll do one more question. How does your background from Boogie Down, Brooklyn, help you tackle the difficult challenges in Savannah?
Well, it's allowed me. Well, I just don't. I don't play games. I don't. I call things the way that I call them. I call them the way that I see them. Sometimes that's gotten me in trouble here in Savannah, but I just call them the way I see it. When Governor Kemp opened up businesses earlier than the even the White House said to, I tweeted that Governor Kemp doesn't give a damn about us here in Georgia. I mean, I probably used the wrong word, but I mean, I meant the sentiment. I think you have to call things as they are, and probably my background and my being from Brooklyn has allowed me to just be very blunt about things that matter, and just you call the shots for what they are. I have
Yes.
a couple. Let me throw a quick one. What is it like working with Governor Kemp on a COVID-19 virus? Very difficult. It has not been fun because at one end he just said a couple of months ago he just found out that it was airborne. It could be spread airborne. It's like, where have you been, man? And then of course he's going around saying, well, we strongly recommend you wear a mask, but he's not mandating masks. Here we're mandating masks, and then he tries to sue the governor. I mean, the mayor of Atlanta over a mask mandate. I mean, and again, we should have a coordinated state response as it relates to this, so that cities are not going at it of its own. So it's not been walking apart, but again, we're just doing the best we can. How you can support my efforts to draw more students in the medical profession? We have to start when I remember when kids are in their primary school years, they're sitting here and they're saying, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. We need to start getting them in the 5th grade, in the 6th grade, start identifying them very, very early. I know Dr. Russell Petty's granddaughter, Manzara, wants to be a doctor when she grows up, and she's only like 8 months. But the fact is, we have to get them early, train them early, really direct them towards STEM types of education. Find ways to bring these young people into your practice. Let them see what it is you do. Oftentimes, we're idolizing the wrong folks. We idolize basketball players and singers who have never done anything for us. You are the community heroes. And I think when people see the types of things you do, you help grow your own bench that will replace you one day. How are we getting masks and sanitizers to the homeless population? Dr. Linton, you would ask me that question. Well, but I'll tell you this. What we did here is our partnership with Governor Cuomo of New York. We were able to get 168,000 items of PPE, and we got over 5,000 tests. We gave 2,500 apiece to our primary healthcare centers, so they're able to do testing of COVID in homeless shelters. And we have other items that we are regularly sending down: hand sanitizer, face mask. and those things that we are taking personally to our homeless shelters. We know that they're already a very, very vulnerable population, and so we have the materials, and so we're making sure to get it to them. Okay, growing cases in cities with mask mandates be attributed to people in other cities coming here for mandates he's leaving going back. Um, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell because people are so fluid, and every state has a different, um, they have different rules. Here in Savannah, again, we have a mask mandate, and our numbers, our 7-day rolling average, our 14-day rolling average, our community spread are all trending down. Although going down at very small rates, if you look at the rest of the country, is going up. So, I mean, we attribute it to the mask mandate. We could point to the day on July 1st when we started it, that there was scientific evidence that showed that it was going down. And the only thing that had changed was the mask mandate. So we're hoping that, this is helping. Savannah is a beautiful tourist city. We have 15 million people that come here every year. And some of these folks come here from other places, don't wear a mask, which is why I go out in the street and I give them masks. Don't come here and get us sick. We don't want to hear that. And Ms. Shelby says, national office aspiration? Absolutely not. As of today, right now, I am the mayor of the city that I came to school, and the city that I love, and I'm very happy in helping to serve the citizens of Savannah. To that end, I'm on a Democratic National Committee, so I'm a super delegate for them, and I am an elector for Joe Biden for president. So if he wins Georgia, I will be one of the electors for the Electoral College for him. Beyond that, I have no national office aspirations. It's only been 10 months for me in this role, and I'm just trying to do an all right job where I am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. All very insightful, and we look forward to continuing to collaborate with you throughout the upcoming years.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And for those of you in other cities, if you need us to reach out, we have a great relationship with our association here through Dr. Russell Petty and her folks here. If we need to help you connect with your mayor, let me know. We're more than willing to help make some phone calls and make some connections. They have been a valuable resource to me here in Savannah. And so, when your doctors have your phone number, they call. And if there's things I need to know, I'm gonna get that 6:45 a.m. call from Dr. Petty because she's heading to see some children, and I don't get up that early. But hey, I'm willing to hear what she has to say. So I think that we have to establish better relationships in our city. And my challenge to you, medical professionals, is use your association as an opportunity to be the ears and the voices of the medical profession in your elected officials. I know Dr. Lester Jackson, my colleague, is also a state legislature here. So, again, that provides valuable resource and introits into the medical community.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to now have a short video presentation.
The American Academy of Ophthalmology. The recipient of the next award graduated from Christian Spring High School. He was a co-valedictorian of his class. He went to Tupelo College, where he received his Bachelor of Science in Biology with honors. He received his Doctor of Medicine degree from the University of Iowa School of Medicine. From there, he completed his residency in ophthalmology at Columbia University School of Medicine, Hallam Hospital affiliated hospital. Subsequently, he did his fellowship in diseases and surgery of the retina and vitreous at the Edward S. Harkins Eye Institute at Columbia University Medical School. He's board certified in ophthalmology. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Ophthalmology, and he's a member of the American Society of Retina Specialists, an international group. He's past president of the Georgia State Medical Association and past chairman of the board of the same society. Dr. Wilkes has also been chairman of the Department of Surgery at the Columbus Medical Center, which is now a Piedmont Hospital affiliated hospital. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and the Kappa Boulay Society. On behalf of the Georgia State Medical Association, I would like to present the Distinguished Service Medallion Award to Emmanuel Wilkes, MD.
Thank you, Dr. Shelby Wilkes, for that presentation. Next, we will have our Senator Lester Jackson. Dr. Lester Jackson III is a state senator from Chatham County, Georgia. He was the 2009 presidential appointee to the Democratic National Committee, becoming the first person from the coastal region of Georgia to serve in this capacity in over 19 years. Lester Jackson is the grandson of George Jackson and Stella Coswell, and he is the brother of Sonia Taylor, Arnold Bennett, Anthony Wade, Timothy Lyon, and Julie Lewis. A family dentist, Dr. Jackson was first elected to the state Senate in 2008, following 10 years of service in the House of Representatives. He served as Assistant House Majority Whip. He was selected by the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus as its Legislator of the Year in 2008 and 2010. As of 2013, Dr. Jackson has served on the Senate Agricultural, Consumer Affairs, Economic Development, Health and Human Services, Higher Education, and Urban Affairs committees. Dr. Jackson attended Payne College and in 1985 received his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree from Meharry Medical College. He is an assistant adjunct professor at Medical College of Georgia and an adjunct professor at Armstrong Atlantic State University. Senator Jackson is a U.S. Navy veteran and a life member of the NAACP. He and his wife, Dr. Lorna Jackson, have 4 children: Charity, Leah, Lester IV, and Jonathan. As we planned this meeting, we were hoping to know by now who the new president would be so that Senator Lester Jackson could give a better overview on how the medical community might be affected. So, Senator Jackson, would you do your best to clarify all of these things for all of us? As we are waiting, I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Dr. Jackson. But I just want to thank you all who have joined this morning. This idea of doing some things to try to help to increase the minority students in medicine is definitely an idea that many have had over the years, but is one of the major things that is part of my platform as the president for the Georgia State Medical Association. As I mentioned earlier, for those who were not able to join, we, for our acceptance rate for African American students into medicine, we are about 10% less than most other ethnicities. And so it is definitely important for us because we find that, and the reason for the founding of the Georgia State Medical Association is so that we can decrease the disparities of access to medicine. We definitely find that patients who are able to get care from other African American physicians oftentimes receive better medical care and better outcomes. And these statistics are ones that have been founded throughout the years. So what we are going to I don't know if there's going to be a different way. What we'll do is, I believe that Dr. Price will skip to and allow Dr. Price to go ahead and talk about the implementation of the resource that we're going to be able to use to help medical students and those who are aspiring physicians to be able to have more access to information and resources through the Georgia State Medical Association. That's it. Dr. Price, are you available? We're kind of changing our schedule around a little bit.
I'm always available to you, Dr. Russell Petty.
Thank you.
Very welcome. And what you may want to do is send a text message to Lester Jackson to ask him to call in on a phone so that he can give his audio portion, since we can see him but not hear him.
Yes, I shall do that.
And you want me to still start?
Yes, yes, go ahead, Dr. Price.
All right. So as many of you know, that I was tasked by the president and executive director for GSMA to upgrade the website with the intent of providing more usability and engagement for the members of GSMA, as well as the medical students and aspiring pipeline students. And so Dr. Petty and a high-level view of some of the changes and give you a sense of the few items that we still are finalizing based on the input that I received from Dr. Petty and Dr. Williams. So let me share the screen. Most of you are familiar with our previous website. And one of the things we wanted to do was have a more engaging website that encompassed more of the content of what GSMA has been doing through the years. So this is the new proposed homepage for the website. It is a responsive website that contains a very user-friendly website that will display accurately on any device, whether a tablet, a handheld, or desktop computer. You see that we highlight a number of the activities that are focus areas of GSMA. And throughout the website, although I won't highlight all of them, there are join us buttons and donate buttons to give viewers more than ample opportunity to join and donate to GSMA. We continually highlight all of the activities on several of the pages of the website so that individuals who are new to GSMA, our external stakeholders, will be able to find out about our association and all of the things that we do. Some of the mantras that you see are ones that I created for the website. They have not yet been approved by the board. They will review this tomorrow, but it pretty much steps up the voice of GSMA within the external world in Georgia and outside of Georgia, that we are the voice of healthcare equity. We continue on to have a counter, which is standard in many of the updated websites that you see, but I wanted to highlight some of the things that GSMA stands for: 127 years, the number of African-American physicians in Georgia, the number of people that are uninsured, hospital closures over the last number of years, and the number of Blacks in Congress, and hopefully this will change once we finish the count. There are some quotes. Again, these are dummy quotes that I put together, and these individuals will edit and tailor these as they see fit, and these can be changed on a month-to-month, year-to-year basis based on the individual's preference. But all of the top officials within GSMA has a rolling quote on the website. Okay. We then highlight all of our partner organizations, and so they're all listed here as you see, and there are links to the executive directors of the associations, and for those that have websites, there are also links to those websites and buttons for them to learn more about those specific organizations. We continue on with our partners, and there's a hyperlink here that you can click and find out about all of the important partners for GSMA that helps us do our partnerships. And going on, there will be embedded videos here. There's a link that I will make active here as we develop the GSMA store opportunities. And again, quotes from some of our distinguished individuals that make up the history of GSMA. And you just heard about the award that was given to one of our dynamic Wilkes brothers this morning earlier. We highlight the achievements of GSMA through the years. And again, join now buttons all over the website. We also have the ability to showcase upcoming webinar programs with links throughout the website. And one of the things that Dr. Petty wanted was an ability to engage both the students and the membership to communicate with one another. And so there will be a link to a GSMA blog where individuals can share thoughts, comments through an active blog. And then lastly, coming down to the footer, there will be an ability to look at calendar events at specific times of the year. The main links to the National Medical Association, the Atlanta Medical Association, the Georgia Clinicians for Climate Action, and the Student National Medical Association. And then this link just draws you to all of our other helpful links for the association. Now, let me go up to just some of the other tabs. I'll move fairly quickly through that unless there are specific questions. There's an About Us tab that has a page for the GSMA Foundation, and then an Events tab where individuals can look at a calendar of events for the year. And as you see here, the GSMA fall meeting, which we are doing now, will be on this particular calendar. This is the board meeting for tomorrow, but the meeting that we're doing today is also on the calendar here. Okay, it's all events. Okay, and then you can subparse this particular calendar by individual months or days, and we'll try to keep that updated as much as possible. Then the membership portion has tabs for the membership application, where individuals can join the association. There's nothing unique about that. And then also a donation support page, so people can put in their donations and link directly to our payment portal. The Medical Student Resource Center, there were two decisions here, whether to build our own or to simply link to SNMA, and I thought it important to partner as much as possible with all of the activities of SNMA. And so the student resources page here links to our regional director in Region 4 with a link to her email address and also to the SNMA website. And then asking people to contribute and contact them if they want to develop a MAPS or SNMA chapter at their local institution. And then all of our AHECs throughout Georgia are listed here with hyperlinks to their individual websites. We have an enhanced COVID-19 resource page. Dr. Williams has worked diligently to get our relationships with the state and other funders in terms of COVID-19 resources. And so the embedded quiz is here on the page, but we have links to the Georgia Department of Public Health. We have links to CDC and a number of articles with regard to COVID-19, and this is updated on a continual basis. Many of these are hyperlinks to the databases that are available on the national perspective. And one of the other links that I want to draw your attention to is an organization spearheaded by Dr. Reed Tuckson, and also with partnership with a number of other organizations, including the Cobb Institute and the NMA, is the Black Coalition Against COVID-19. And you all are encouraged to watch this particular town hall. It's a meeting about the vaccines and all of the research going on with respect to COVID-19. But links to Dr. Fauci webinars and also to things coming out of the Hill. All right. There's a gallery because everybody wants to be seen. And so there are a number of photos which are here on this page. We will continue to update all of the activities that are going on throughout GSMA, but draw your attention to our dynamic president, Dr. Russell Petty, who did a dynamic press conference early in the year with the mayor of Savannah with regard to the mandate on wearing masks. But all the activities with our partner organizations are highlighted here on this page. And then quickly, a direct link to the blog, a contact page. And then this is one of the wish list items that Dr. Petty asked for, which was to have a member-specific account. And so all of the dues paid members will be able to go to this page and to click on this particular page and to log in, where they will have access to member-only specific activities. And what that will allow them to do is to set up subscriptions to our newsletter, to make payments, donations. They can even log into some of the course activities that we have going on, and it will keep track of their CME involvement. So if they participate in the Fall Symposium, they will see here on this counter how many CME activities they've been involved in. And then this membership component will be enhanced. The capabilities are there so that we will be able to have mentors for the students, and they'll be able to log in as a member under their category and put in a request to have a mentor in a particular specialty, and they can set up an inner circle blog with like-minded professionals in their specialty of interest. I'll start to wrap up there. I know that Dr. Petty also wanted us to have a physician search capability for the website. This is a labor-intensive and expensive proposition. And so what I'm recommending, while we can do that, blackdoctors.org has a very robust platform with an updated database of physicians. And I would suggest that rather than reinvent the wheel, that we simply partner with blackdoctors.org and have an agreement where we can put the link to their platform on our membership site. And that way consumers as well as other physicians will be able to use the search criteria that they have developed. So unless there are other specific questions or things that you want to see, I think I will stop there and entertain any questions that might come up. And these are just the other links that we have for the member organizations. Dr. Petty, back to you.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? I think the main thing that we want to be able to do with our new website is to allow students across the state, especially whether you are, just as Mayor Johnson suggested, whether you are primary school students, middle school, high school students, where they'll be able to go on our website and be able to ask questions, and we'll be able to get information back about, you know, each step of the way. What do they need to do to become a physician? And we want to be that constant resource. And so that's the main reason for the overhaul of our website. And so if there are any questions for Dr. Price, you can enter them in the chat. And if not, then thank you so much, Dr. Price, for all of everything that you're doing to help us to move forward. We know that the technology is the way to go to try to engage everyone. It definitely has allowed all of our students to continue to learn and receive their education throughout this pandemic. And so we will definitely continue to utilize that for our future. And so now we are still working with Senator Jackson. I'm not sure what provided such a technical difficulty for us today, but what we will do is we'll go ahead and prepare to have our student symposium. So this is what we have all been waiting for. We will have our medical student resident panel, residents and student panel. This is going to be moderated by Ms. Kendra Moore, who is the president of the Student National Medical Association at Mercer University. Kendra.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm so grateful to the GSMA for giving me this opportunity to be here and help inspire our future physicians. We have an awesome panel here with us today. I'm really excited to get to hear from them. We did have a resident on the panel, and whenever he drops in, we'll bounce back to him. But I want to go ahead and, of course, Dr. Petty already introduced me. Like she said, I'm a second-year student at Mercer. I'm the SNMA president, and shout out to all my Mercer peeps that are in the chat. Actually, Dontre just popped in. So, Dontre, we're going to go ahead and get started with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey starting from high school to residency, and can you also give an introduction of yourself as well for our audience members?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Good. All right. It's good to see you, Kendra. Thanks for that brief introduction. So my name is Dr. Dontre Dowse, born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. Um, I did undergrad at Savannah State and then medical school at Mercer School of Medicine. Um, well, I guess now I've matched, I'm sorry, at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, doing otolaryngology, head and neck surgery. And so I don't know, I only got a few minutes, but I was kind of thinking that I would just tell kind of how I got there, things that I thought were important, and then kind of go from there. So first and foremost for me, my faith was big. I felt like that kept me grounded. And then secondly, I'm married to a wonderful wife who's very supportive. Um, but when I was thinking about telling those things, I was like, well, one, everybody's not big on faith, and two, everybody's not married. So um, a few more practical things, that I think helped me along the way was studying hard. And so one thing that I did throughout med school was I got up every day around 4:30. I actually remember me and Kendra had a talk about doing the same thing, getting up early. Um, and that is a skill that led me to be just very disciplined. And then from there, I was able to be more disciplined in other areas such as research, step exams, shelf exams, etc. Um, and that brings me to my next thing is the step scores, and it's an arbitrary number, and it's not really, using that number is not really giving a holistic view of the person, but it's essentially you just got to play the game. And now step one is just pass fail. And so really it would all come down to your step two scores in terms of being competitive and getting interviews and things of that nature. And without going into too much detail, the biggest thing that I would say that helped me to be successful in the step exams and scoring the top percentile in the country is questions. And it's kind of weird, but I tallied up all of the questions that I did, and even the questions that I did twice throughout my third year of med school. And I did about 14,000 questions before I took step two. And I don't know, I think that's just the level of dedication that you need to score well and to compete with these people from all over the country who, have the opportunities to do well on these exams. The next thing is research. So research is important. It shows that you are interested in pushing increasing, what we know in the field of medicine, and it shows that you are a scholar, and it also shows that you have time management and can do things outside of school. And so research isn't always fun. It isn't always interesting, and especially as med students or even in undergrad, um, it's difficult to kind of like research because you aren't generally the person that creates, whatever project it is. And so it's kind of hard working on other people's things. But what I would say is that if you are in the category of applicants that has research, then that just puts you in a different bracket. And I just remember on the interview trails, there were applicants who didn't have research and applicants who did have research. And you can even see sometimes the interviewers they were right at the top. They'll say 0 publications or no research experience. And so that's something that sticks out to these people in higher places. And so I just want to encourage everybody to get involved in research whatever way you can. And even if you don't have publications, doing conferences like these and presentations, and even research experience, all those things count. The next thing I would say is just extracurriculars. So during my time at Savannah State and at Mercer, I was on a number of committees and just different groups at Memorial, at Mercer, at Savannah State. And those things just show that I'm a well-rounded person, and that I'm actually a person. I was so surprised on the interview trail to see how many people were just frankly just weird and like doing different, doing different extracurricular shows that you have a life outside of medicine and that you have interests that are different than medicine. And everybody's talking about diversity nowadays. And so being diverse, not just because of skin color, but being diverse because of your CV is also a thing that I think will help you stick out. The last thing, which is I think arguably one of the most important, is networking. So I'm at Mayo Clinic. It's the top hospital in the country, but I reached out to an attending in otolaryngology in 2017. It was December of 2017. So 3 years before I got an opportunity to match at Mayo Clinic, I was already emailing attendings, trying to figure out what I could do to be competitive, what I could do to, get their attention, so to speak. And they told me, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what research you need. This is the step score. These are the step scores you need. And, I did them. I did everything that they said to do, and I excelled, and I, passed those markers that they gave me. And so it was essentially like they really didn't have a choice. And then there were other ways that I networked. So there's this Harry S. Barnes Society. Harry S. Barnes is the first Black ENT board certified in the country. And so they made a group for him. And so the academy is under the Academy of Otolaryngologists, Head and Neck Surgeons. And through there, I met a number of different attendings, chairs of programs, program directors. And so I always, whenever I went on these interviews, I at least knew one person that, could vouch for me and that could speak to my dedication and, how serious I was about the field. And I think that's something that's universal, whether you're doing peds or family or internal psych, whatever it is, there's always a group of people that you could reach out to, get some knowledge from, introduce yourself and just build a relationship, because you never know who can help you get you never know who can help you get wherever you ultimately want to go. So I think that's probably one of the most important aspects of just being competitive and playing this game called medicine. And I think I'll leave it at that. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, I know Dr. Doss has to leave us. So if anyone has any questions specifically for him, since he is the resident on our panel, you can go ahead and drop the questions now in the chat. And I just want to say thank you, Dr. Doss, for giving us these words of encouragement. Sometimes we don't think about these things, or especially for us med school students and pre-med students, we just see the long road ahead, but you're kind of like towards the end of the tunnel that we're all kind of striving for. So we appreciate those words of encouragement. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. I just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I know you're pretty busy, and it's good seeing a familiar face around here. So you have a good one, Dontre.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat below. And if anybody wants to email me, they can email me and I'll get back, of course.
Sounds
and
like
thanks for having me.
All right, see ya. We're going to continue with some more of our panelists. Student Dr. Dada, if you could go back to college, what would you do differently? If you could go back to high school, what would you do differently to prepare yourself for college? And if anything, is there anything that you would do the same way?
Hello, everyone. My name is Amalaya Dada. As introduced, I'm a M3 student, third year at Morehouse School of Medicine. And to answer your question, there's not much I would change academically and, being involved, just because I was very involved in high school. But I would encourage everyone to be involved, get involved in different societies, pick things that you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, then it won't come to you as, oh, I have to do this, or it won't be tasking. I'll say also, when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to go into medicine, but I can't say I entirely knew everything it entailed, because at that time I hadn't shadowed. I knew a few doctors, but I just wasn't exactly sure. So I would say reach out to doctors within your area. You will be surprised how many people that you email and that don't know you that are willing. Doctors are usually willing to have students come in, shadow them. Because of COVID, some might have restrictions, but they'll be willing to talk to you on the phone. And that's how you kind of start, building relationships. Also, I'll say, go to conferences. A lot of them are online now. Look into different ones that are available. And I'll say just get as much information as you can, um, just to expand your knowledge and get to know the field of medicine more. Also, I'll say try to be as organized as possible. In high school, I used to use a planner all the time. And then I got to college and it worked a little bit, but then I fell off. So I'll say definitely get a guide. Actually, some friends and I that I met in my master's program, we put together a pre-med journal. It's called the Student Doctors Pre-Med Journal. If you go to Instagram, it's called the Student Doctors, and it has everything that you need to get into medical school. It has all the requirements, has a place for you to log in your activities, your volunteer activities. It tells you to write in, people that you meet to keep up with them. So get a guide, get something that will keep you on track. And then also, I'll say college is fun and it's a new experience, but remember you're paying to get an education. And so get as much as you can out of it because in the long run, it's going to pay off. So, we all face challenges. Everyone doesn't have a straight path to medical school. After graduating college, I took a year off, got into a master's program at Morehouse School of Medicine, took another year off before I started medical school. So just remember that everyone's journey is different and it doesn't have to be the traditional straight from college into medical school. And so, we face challenges, it's part of who you are, and don't be afraid to talk about it. And that is all I could, that's all I have.
Thank you so much for your response. And you out here doing stuff, got a whole journal and everything. I'm sure a lot of the participants would really love to take a look at that. So can you drop the information for that in the chat?
Yes.
And you also hit on something that's really important. I know you talked about like having a planner and time managing. And I think what's very important is that, like you said, in high school, you started like instilling those like characteristics or making sure you did those things, but learn or take mental note that you're going to have to like kind of tweak those things from high school to college. And then some things that you did in college might not work for med school and beyond. So it's really important to not only keep doing those things, but refine them with time, because stuff may not, every step along your journey to MD, DO, whatever route you take is going to be a little bit different. So you have to definitely refine that process as you go.
Really? Yep.
Well, thank you so much. I'll see you later.
All right, see you.
All right, so now we're gonna go into kind of the pre-med route a little bit. Doncel, can you tell us what was the hardest part about being a pre-med student?
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kendra. So my name is Joncel Stevens. I'm a first-year medical student at Mercer University School of Medicine. They have 3 campuses and I'm on their Savannah campus. And like I said, I'm a first year, so I just started a few months ago. But that means I'm closer to those pre-med years and getting ready to go into medical school. So I'm hoping that my experience can help some of you guys today. So the hardest part about being a pre-med student was dealing with not being perfect. A lot of us pre-med students or students that want to become a doctor one day, we love excelling academically. We love doing well in our classes. And I think that that gives us the type of personality type where we want to do everything that's very high quality. And a challenge that I incurred when I was in college was being challenged academically. Getting anything below a B, I would freak out. Anything below an A, of course, I would freak out. So I really had to dig deep during my pre-med years and say that I'm not going to be perfect. I will make mistakes. The most important thing is to learn from those mistakes. And what I found was that when I applied to medical school and I talked about what I learned from experiences in which I didn't do as well as I wanted to, or didn't achieve a goal that I wanted to within the time frame I wanted, that it was okay, that I forgave myself and learned how to do better the next time. And what you might find during your academic journey is that you might get a bad grade. You might not get the MCAT score that you wanted. There might be some other part of your medical school application that you feel bad about. And that could make you feel doubt in yourself. Like, am I really cut out to be a doctor? Is this really the path for me? And like I said before, in those kinds of moments, you have to dig deep and realize that this is something that was put on your heart and a goal that you set out for yourself, and to not let the small mistakes keep you from achieving a goal that you set for yourself. So I would have to say that those moments when I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, or get what I wanted to get when I wanted it, that was the hardest part about being a pre-med student, but it doesn't have to stop the journey at that point.
Thank you so much for those inspiring words. So I know you kind of hit a little bit on obstacles and some things that kind of hindered your path a little bit. I know, Sydney, you had something that you wanted to share and talk about. What was one of your biggest obstacles that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Hi, everybody. So I'm Sydney. I'm an M1, a first-year medical student at Emory School of Medicine, and I'm also the SNMA chapter president there. And yeah, I definitely did want to talk about obstacles. I think there are a lot of obstacles I face, and John, so I think you hit on a lot of things that I also experienced. But something that I really struggled with during my pre-med journey, and still something I'm trying to figure out now, is just balance. I think a lot of us, and a lot of you guys watching, and myself included, when we love something, we really go hard at it. And the pre-medical journey, and even now medical school, can be a very all-consuming one. And I think sometimes it can be easy to forget all the things that Sydney is. So even though medicine is a big part of who I am, I also love to sing. I am a sister. I am a godmother. I own a business. There's so many other parts of me. And I'm also passionate about education and a ton of other things, right? And I think that when we think about becoming a doctor, we think, okay, I have to be this way. I got to do this research. I got to go to this class. I got to get this grade and do it this way and that way. And it can be easy to forget about all of the other things that we love that make us who we are. And so I love what Dr. Dow said about being diverse in your CV, because that's exactly what I wanted to tell everyone, was that it's important not to forget the other things that you love. And I think that sometimes we think we have to be this cookie cutter med student or this cookie cutter pre-med, but there is also a lot of value in all of those other things as well. And there's a lot of value in seeing people who don't look exactly the same. And I think we sometimes undervalue that. And so I just wanted to tell you guys just not to forget who you are as a part of this journey. Like, yes, you want to be a med student. Yes, you want to be a doctor, but still be you. Right? And don't be afraid to engage in activities that you may not think typically, you know, admissions committees want to see, but in reality, they look cool, they make you who you are, and we want doctors who are authentic and genuine in nature. So that's really was my biggest obstacle. And I think once I realized just like how great I am, even though there are things that maybe other students who are I'm competing against, or other student doctors aren't doing those things. Like, once I realized that being authentically me is what got me to where I am today and what will get me to where I want to be in the future, once I accepted that, I think it just got so much easier, because I didn't hold myself to this, you know, strict standard that I had to do what other people were doing. So just be you, be authentically you, and be proud of it. And that's all I got.
Sydney, you literally sound like me and how I talk to the majority of my classmates, and even some of the students on this panel. Like, you sound like me, and I know that's a lot of times, like, the spiel that you gave is the spiel that I give. Kind of hitting on what you said, like, I always remind people, like, comparison is a thief of joy. Like, the moment you start comparing yourself to other people is the moment that you made a mistake, because like you said, like, during this process, we're so used to seeing a GPA, an MCAT, what college did you go to? What's your, like, you know what I'm saying? All these other stats. and you kind of get so bogged down in the stats that you kind of forget who you are as a person. And sometimes you have to take that moment to remind yourself that, or even some of my classmates that are watching this have to kind of kick me in the butt a little bit and remind me, like, Kendra, you are, you know what I'm saying? You that person. I'm not gonna use that word, but you're that person. Like, you're doing what you need to do, and you don't need to belittle yourself or downgrade yourself thinking that you don't have X, Y, Z. Because like you said, like on your application in different med schools and even residency programs are looking for the authentic version of you. They don't want some I did these things to fill up my resume, my CV. Like, they want to see what gets what grinds your gears, what gets you excited, and what ignites your passion. Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about what you believe are the top 3 things that high schoolers and college students should be doing during this pre-med stage of their journey?
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of background about myself. I went to Savannah State as well, like Dante. I'm a non-traditional student, so I didn't know I wanted to be a doctor until I was like in graduate school. So I applied to medical school and I'm in MCG now. So the number one thing is mentorship. So finding a good mentor. I think the reason I was able to pretty much get most of my opportunities is I had a good mentor who had experiences, who could guide me in a way or let me know what experiences, what opportunities there were out there besides the ones I was able to research. So I think that's key, to always have a good mentor no matter what stage you're at. So if you're a high school, you should have a pre-med mentor who's at the college level, and they can help you out, give you resources, give you tips and trades to see how you can do better in college or do the best you can in college. If you're pre-med, you should have a mentor who's in medical school, or maybe a mentor who's a resident or a doctor. So I think that's very important. Another thing is just to maximize all resources available to make sure your grades are the best they can be. Because one of the strongest predictors of the MCAT, which is the test you have to, take to get accepted to medical school, is your grades. So if you're doing really well and you understand all the biology and physics and chemistry and things of that nature, you should be setting yourself up to do really well on the MCAT. I know since I took the prerequisites, after undergrad and I was a non-traditional, I took them really serious. I know I want to go to medical school. I didn't really have to do much content review because I did so well in the pre-med classes. So that's important to get that strong foundation, especially for the science sections of the MCAT. And then lastly, don't get discouraged at all. There are going to be people that tell you that you can't do it, or you shouldn't do it, or it's impossible to do, or why are you doing this? And if you believe you can do it, you're going to do it. So my background, I had my childhood was a lot different than a lot of my colleagues, and I wasn't the best high school student. I probably was a terrible high school student. I wasn't focused or any of that in high school. And I remember when I decided to, get serious and I wanted to go to medical school, and there are a lot of people that told me I couldn't do it. And the joke's on them now, but so just believe, no matter what people say, no matter what your advisors say, no matter, if you believe in yourself, you're going to accomplish it. So that's about it.
Thank you for those words of encouragement. I'm sorry, there's a train going by. So if y'all hear that in the background, that's what that is. I saw that someone in the chat asked if they could kind of share some of their challenges dealing with racism and bias in medical education. Did anybody on the panel want to talk about that? I know Dr. Dowse said that he could, and I see Jasmine also raised her hand. I'll let you go next after Dr. Dowse, Jasmine.
Yeah, I was going to speak to this. So I'm doing a specialty where it's literally like 120 Black attendings in the country. In the entire country, it's like 120. And so I faced some unique challenges that I felt like, certainly highlighted challenges just with race and bias, et cetera. I got 2 stories that I can think of. And so one day I was meeting a mentor who, well, first, let me preface this. So I'll tell these stories, but not to discourage anybody or not to, push anybody away from medicine, but just to let you know that these are the realities of the time, as well as, you know, just because it exists, does that mean you don't go and become a doctor? I feel like it means all the more. That's why we need you all to go out and pursue your dreams and careers to become doctors. But anyway, so I was meeting his mentor, and this particular mentor had a nurse. And long story short, we had a few interactions. You know, I thought it was kind of weird, but I didn't really think anything of it. But then we had a moment alone, and she said, "Hey, do you know this guy? His name is Johnny Eloy." I was like, "No, I don't know that guy." And she was like, "Are you sure his name is Johnny Eloy?" And I was like, "No, ma'am. I don't know him. Like if like if I did, I would have said that." And I was like, "Well, how am I supposed to know this guy?" And she was like, "Well, he's an ENT up at Rutgers in New Jersey." And I said, "Oh yeah, well, I did everything in Savannah, Savannah State, Mercer. I've never, trained outside, so I'm not sure how I'm supposed to know him." And she said, "Oh, well, he's Haitian." And I said, "Huh? He's Haitian." Like she did it again, like as if this amazing light bulb was supposed to go off in my head. And I was like, "Well, ma'am, I'm American, African American. I don't know nobody from the 80s. I don't even know what language they speak, if I'm being honest." So, I was like, dumbfounded. And so it didn't stop there. This was really her introduction to say something else, which I was like, wow. And so I said, "Okay, well, I don't know him, um, and so she was like, "Well, I wanted to tell you that because," and then she paused for a minute. She like did this like pensive look, and she was like, "How should I say this? How should I say this?" And she was like, "Well, um, the field that you're choosing is going to be elusive for you, and so you would need as much help as you can get to get where you want to go." And that was kind of my first interaction dealing with racism and bias, and I just I thought that was so interesting. And I mean, I have another story. I don't want to get too much into it, but essentially a program director at one of the ENT programs that I met, we were talking, and he gave me this hypothetical. He said, I'm skipping past a lot of parts, but he gave me a hypothetical situation. And he was like, hypothetically, there may be people that want to keep the numbers low. And I was like, numbers of what you're talking about? And he was like, the numbers of minorities. There may be people out there that want to keep the numbers of minorities low. And that was another kind of extremely weird conversation that just really showed me that there is a such thing as racism and bias. And long story short, he ended up telling me that I shouldn't even apply this year, that I wasn't competitive, that I should take a year off and do a research year. And it's crazy. I mean, I ended up matching at the #1 program in the country. And I don't know, it's just interesting. You'll have people that tell you can't do certain things, or, you don't fit the certain mold, or you don't look like a person that would be a doctor, you don't talk like a doctor, etc. So I just want to encourage everybody to push forward and push past those things.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement. I know, like, I'm pretty sure it's kind of funny. Well, not even funny. It's interesting because in like talking to a lot of my classmates and stuff, I feel like sometimes we encounter racism or other situations where people just show their biases like in all the wrong ways. And it's kind of like we've gotten used to it. It happens so much that not that it's normalized, but we kind of don't even realize it. Or at least I know sometimes for me, it's been that way. And it's kind of discouraging at times. I'm going to let you go ahead and share your story, and then we can get back to that, Jasmine.
Hey, so my name is Jasmine Gentry. I'm a 4th-year medical student here at Morehouse School of Medicine. I think my perspective is kind of interesting because I'm kind of coming up on the end of my medical school journey. I'm currently applying for residency in emergency medicine. I think that a lot of what I have kind of come across is, I guess, what you would call microaggressions, just like little things here and there that give me the realization, the feeling that people are almost surprised to see me in the room. People are almost surprised to see me wear the white coat, surprised that, you know, I have something intelligent to say or add to the conversation, without getting into a lot of the different interactions. Because I've learned over the years that I'm always going to surprise people, even myself sometimes. And so that's fine. But I think that it's telling that, you know, somebody who sometimes you can look up to them, see them as a mentor, can often shock you and surprise you as well. So for example, going into emergency medicine, a big thing that's important about matching into emergency medicine is you have to do an audition rotation. They call them sub-Is or sub-internships, and basically you do them during your 4th year, and you are not there as a 4th year medical student, you are there as the intern. So you are putting in orders, you are doing your procedures and all that. And so my sub-I did it with Emory, it went great, and that was good. And so I did a new rotation with Emory. It was a toxicology rotation, which is an EM subspecialty, you know, just trying to get my feet wet, trying to get into the field. And pretty much everybody on my team was great. They were welcoming and they knew that I was interested in emergency medicine. But there is this one person on the team. And I think what also is always surprising is that, like, when it hits you, sometimes it's never overt. It's never overtly malicious, but it's just so insidious sometimes that you're just like, what did you just say? So basically, this individual was kind of just asking me like, oh, so what do you want to do? And I was telling them, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a very confident person and I'm very grounded in what my strengths are. And I'm very grounded in how competitive of an advocate that I am. And so I was just frank. I said, you know, I want to apply to these programs, which are all top emergency medicine programs, some of which are Ivy Leagues. And specifically, I'm looking at like maybe moving to California to go back with family. And California is traditionally like a competitive state for anything, residency included. And for whatever reason, he felt the need to give me a 5-minute lecture that I need to lower my expectations. That, you know, oh, when I matched into emergency medicine, I fell down my rank list by like, you know, 5 schools. And it's okay if you don't get into your top program. And I'm sitting here like, have you even seen my application? Do you even know my step score? Because it would be a totally different conversation, but it's the fact that, you know, you don't even feel the need to have that, you know, couching of expectations with another student who's also stating similar things, but just so happens to have a different skin tone than me. Right. And I just thought that it was really telling. And, you know, sometimes in these situations, you have this thing in you that just wants to say like, oh, well, this is my step score. But it's almost like, with certain people, you have to learn that they live in a limiting mindset. And for you to even explain yourself, for you to even explain why you deserve to be there, does you a disservice rather than educating them. I do believe in educating people, and I do believe in, you know, having conversations with people, you know, when they're wrong sometimes, but I also truly believe in, you know, mental health and protecting yourself. And I do think it can be very deleterious to your mental health, always trying to explain why I need to be here, why I need to be here. Because to be honest, the issue is not with you. The issue is with them and their understanding of who you are as even a person deserving of respect. Because I would never fix my mouth to go up to anybody and just tell them to lower their expectations without even knowing like their last name or their middle name. And so I think that was just a real eye opener for me. And so it's been very interesting being on the interview trail now. That happened actually like a month ago. So a month later, I'm sitting here with tons of interviews at all the places that, you know, like I had explained to him. And so it's just really telling that, you know, when you kind of just look inward and focus on yourself, sometimes a lot of that racism and, you know, it just kind of falls away like background noise, because you're going to go where you're going to go regardless. And those people are still going to be in that same spot with that limiting mindset.
Sorry, I was about to start talking without unmuting myself. You hit on a lot. Like you just said a whole mouthful, sis. Like you hit on a lot of things, being confident in yourself and knowing who you are, kind of what we've already hit on. And not having, like, that's something I've had to deal with as well. And maybe some other students have had to deal with that. Not having to feel like you have to explain yourself and be the educator. Like if somebody really wants to know something, there's a Google, there's the internet, there's a laptop, there's a friend. Yeah. That ain't you. Like they can go figure out the information themselves. Yes. So, and like you said, that's mentally taxing. Like that takes so much and it's so draining. So I thank you for that response. And I think like that helped me. I know it helped some other people for sure. Next, I'll go to student Dr. Owens Walton. What does a non-traditional path to and through medical school look like?
Hi, everyone. My name is Janice Owens Walton. I'm a kind of a hybrid student right now. I'm in between my 3rd and 4th year of medical school because I'm taking a break. I'm doing clinical research in Washington, well, not in Washington, in Bethesda, Maryland at the NIH. And I kind of just wanted to talk about what, like, you know, non-traditional, I think there's this idea, especially as a pre-med, that you have to hurry up and get to med school, that you have to hurry up and get there, then you have to hurry up and get through, and then you have to hurry up and finish residency. But I want you to remember that, like, med school is it's an intense time. And one of the things that I think is important is that you have time to learn who you are. And I think those, typically my classmates who have had more non-traditional paths to med school have a better understanding of themselves, but also of what they like outside of medicine, because they haven't encompassed their entire life in trying to reach this goal. So for me, I actually wanted to be an optometrist when I left undergrad and applied to optometry school. Decided it ultimately wasn't for me, and decided to switch my track and choose medical school instead. And in doing so, I ended up taking 3 years off between undergrad and entering medical school. In that time I worked, in that time I traveled a lot, and I got to kind of nourish some hobbies outside of my training, outside of medicine. And then by the time I got to medical school, I felt like I had already gotten a true sense of who I am outside of medicine. And that's something important to come back to, because there are times when med school gets really tough and you're so bogged down and it feels like, okay, but what do I have left outside of this? Like, if this doesn't work out, if I'm struggling in this and I'm not doing well, who am I apart from this? And I think that time away really gave me an opportunity to remember that actually I'm Janice and I like to travel and I love to cook and I am interested in these things because I had time to nourish it. And as I continued my journey in med school, I realized that the field that I want to go into is very research heavy, but I have no idea how to do this. And I don't think I have the time enough to dedicate to learn how to do this. I'm sorry, there's a baby. It's kind of upset. But I don't think I have enough time to learn how to do research properly for what I want to do, which is urology. And so I decided to take a detour, which is my research year. So I will actually complete 5 years of medical school, or 5 years. And I chose to apply to several programs all over the nation. I ended up coming here to the NIH to do my clinical research and looking at rare kidney cancers and hereditary kidney cancers. But research is not the only thing that you can do. You can do an MBA, you can do an MPH. A lot of my classmates have an MPH. You can take a year off and travel and do clinical work. You can do basic science research. There are so many opportunities for you to do that, and not just between 3rd and 4th year. You can do that between M1 and M2, M3 and M4. You can even finish your M4 year and take some time off. But I am a few months into my research year now, and at first I was really nervous because I'm not graduating with my class anymore. I'm not ending my 4 years with the people that I've really nourished relationships with, but I am getting another opportunity to explore myself outside of medicine. I'm getting another opportunity to do the things that I like to do. I'm getting another opportunity to just take a break before residency, before life gets really stressful. And so I encourage you to, when you're thinking about your journey to medicine, if you're in high school, if you're an undergrad, think about whether you would want to take some time off and just travel, enjoy yourself, because it's a marathon, not a race. Medicine is definitely a career of delayed gratification. Like, you're thankful to get to med school, but then there's still 4 more years, and then you're thankful to match, but then you still have 3 to 7 years before you're an attending. So enjoy every moment. And I think some of that includes like not, taking the time off and just kind of exploring what the world has to offer. Because at the end of the day, yes, medicine, you might feel like medicine is your calling, but that doesn't mean it has to be your everything. That doesn't mean it's like the only thing that you're ever going to do in your life.
And like student Dr. Owens Walton said, she stole my other phrase. I always say, like, this journey is a marathon, not a sprint. You know, we have to pace ourselves, and like you said, it's important. We keep going back to remembering who you are and learning those things about you. And for my high schoolers and my pre-med students, sometimes we're so bogged down in making sure we learn this material, making sure we learn the content, that we kind of forget to nourish who we are as a person and nourish ourselves. So we kind of don't really know who we are. So when we have those moments to kind of chill out, like, who am I outside of a student? Try to nurture those things. And it's also okay to take time if you feel like you also need to become a more competitive applicant. Student Dr. Randolph, for the students that don't feel competitive enough for med school acceptance, what are some things that they can do during a gap year to become more competitive?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sonia Randolph. First of all, I'm just introduce myself and where school I go to. I'm an M1 student at Morehouse School of Medicine. I did my undergrad at the University of Alabama and a master's program at Georgia State University. Just a few things about myself. One thing I did, hold on, you can't hear me well. Can you hear me now? Okay. One thing I did when I got out of undergrad, I did okay. I didn't think I was competitive enough. I also didn't think I was focused enough to start my medical school journey, to do the MCAT and score well on it, and to be competitive enough to get into school. Okay, hold on, let me take this out. What about now? Is it a little better? Okay, so getting out of undergrad, I went to the University of Alabama during a time where we were winning a lot of championships. I will say that I was very engaged in the social aspect of college. So I was less engaged in my schoolwork, less focused. I didn't take good advantage of all the opportunities my undergrad had to offer. I also feel like I did not get the type of guidance that I needed from counselors, from people who were telling me, those who were kind of guiding me down the line during my undergrad career. So I didn't think of any type of ways that I could kind of go into my journey of medical school. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I also didn't know how to get there. So I found myself stuck and kind of wondering, how can I prove to myself that I'm ready? I did a route through Grady Memorial Hospital. I became an EMT for a couple years for Grady Memorial Hospital because I was interested in emergency medicine, but I wanted to see if I was kind of good enough to actually perform the hands-on work that was required. So I really enjoyed that. I also did a master's program at Georgia State University when I felt more focused. Now, if I still felt like immature academically and not as focused, I probably wouldn't have started at that time. But when I felt really focused, like I was really able to do the work, then I was a little older as well, a little more mature. So I did go to Georgia State University and was ready, honestly, was just ready to get started and was ready to follow this journey that I wanted to do for so long. Did well there, took the MCAT, did well, and I honestly did not get in my first try. And so that was very challenging for me to see that I had a good GPA, see that I had a good MCAT. I was very well-rounded. I was in a lot of different extracurricular activities. Shadowing was there. All my volunteer hours was there. GPA, MCAT was there. Everything was there, but I didn't get in. And so I was encouraged to continue, but I was a little discouraged at first. So what I started to do was the schools that I was very interested in, I started to volunteer at different events that they had at those schools. So I would go to the different events and get to know some of the people at those schools. And it also really, really, really helped mentoring. If you find the right mentor, somebody who can help you, and like I forgot who said it earlier, but somebody was saying that doctors are really willing to help you. And I found a great mentor, and he was really able to kind of tell me some things that I can do as far as going to these different events at schools. I even started volunteering in research at Morehouse because I knew that was one of the schools I wanted to go to. So I definitely started just being more engaged in the schools that I was interested in. And those things that I did, like I said, becoming an EMT, you don't have to become an EMT, but just working in the medical field really so you can show yourself that you are able and capable to do these things. So I feel like those are some of the things that really helped me to get where I am now.
Thank you for that inspiring story. And I think that also gave a lot of our students a look at the journey, a look at the different paths that you can take and the different things that you can do to still get the same goal. You're still where you want to be at, but you took it in your route and in your own way. Next, I'm going to have student Dr. Berry. Do you feel that your undergrad school properly prepared you for medical school?
So hey everyone, I'm Sover Berry. I'm an M2 at the Medical College of Georgia. So while at Georgia State University and coming to medical school, I was concerned on whether or not I was prepared enough to do well in medical school. I knew that I'd be coming into school and that a lot of my peers would be coming from schools like the Techs of the worlds and the Emorys and the Northwesterns. And I was wondering, coming from Georgia State University, would I be able to keep up? And I will say that yes, Georgia State University did do a wonderful job setting a foundation for me to do well in medical school with its basic science courses. But I feel as though I had to apply myself in these courses in order to get that foundation. So basically, it's what you put into is what you get out. It's not necessarily the school that you go to that's going to determine whether or not you do well in medical school. As long as you take the prerequisite courses, you apply yourself and you do well enough on the MCAT, I feel like you have that background to do well. What's truly important to me in undergrad is figuring out how well do you learn, or what's your best method of learning. Are you a didactic learner? Are you an interactive learner? Do you do well just listening, or do you have to draw pictures or do flashcards, or what's the best way that you learn is the most important thing for me. And on top of that, also establishing very good study habits while you're in undergrad or high school is going to go a long way in medical school. And in undergrad, honestly, at Georgia State, I wasn't the best studier. I thought I used to know how to study, but what I would say is I would make time to study. So I'd have my whole day, then I'd say, okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to go and review this material for 2 or 3 hours. That's not going to be sufficient enough for medical school. You're going to have to make time to enjoy yourself in medical school just because of the rigors of the curriculum. So the 2 most important things for me are find out how you best study, and also start establishing good study habits. Start establishing, or do you study well in bed? I know some people do well in bed. Some people have to physically remove themselves and go down the hallway or to a desk and whatnot to do well. Do you study well with music or without music? Do distractions really bother you a lot? Just figure out how you study best before you do get into medical school. So I will say that personally for me and a lot of my peers, for I'd say maybe like schools like Savannah State or Georgia State or Hampton, we do just as well or even better than our counterparts that came from the Techs and the Emorys and the UGAs. And I feel as that, though, that was because once we figured out how we learn best, and once we figured out how our efficient study methods and whatnot, we were able to do just as well as them. But it's figuring out those things first. So in conclusion, yes, my undergrad institution did help me lay a good science foundation for medical school. However, figuring out how you learn best and establishing good study habits is paramount to do well in medical school.
Thank you for that. And to kind of follow up, Allison, can you tell us a little bit about any obstacles or how the first year has been for you so far?
Yeah, so my name is Allison Lewis. I am a first year medical student at the Medical College of Georgia. And just kind of how student Dr. Berry just talked about, a big adjustment that I personally had is finding out exactly how to study and finding out exactly the best way for time management. I think undergrad can sometimes, I know for me personally, gave me this sense of, you have it all figured out, you know, this is exactly what's going to work. And I got in my first module and I've had to make a lot of tweaks and a lot of adjustments, which is fine. So the biggest thing for me is giving myself the grace to say, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to give myself this week or 2 weeks to see if it's working, and I'm going to then allow myself to make changes to figure out what's really going to work for me. But I think the biggest thing I have to keep playing in the back of my mind is giving myself grace. I think as people want to pursue medicine, or people in medicine, we're programmed to be these perfect students. We want to be high achieving, and that is fine. But also understanding that we haven't done medical school before. We haven't had to work at this caliber before. So being able to say, yes, this is not where I am right now, but I'm giving myself the space to get there. I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I haven't done this before. And eventually giving yourself that boost and that confidence and also that space to get there allows you to kind of bridge the gap and eventually get yourself there without adding extra pressure to the pressure of being in medical school, the pressure of all these other things. That grace is so important in bridging that transition.
And I think that's something like we med school students have all kind of had to learn, like how to readjust, like you said, go back to the drawing board. And I always say it's difficult, but giving ourselves the grace that we try to give to those around us, like treating ourselves and giving ourselves that grace. So kind of taking it back a little bit, Rick, can you tell us a little bit about what you wish you knew as a high school student who was going to then pursue as a pre-med college student?
Sure thing. Hey, everyone. I'm Rick Bowens. I'm a first year at Mercer University School of Medicine. And I quickly wanted to talk about the fact that, for me, the transition was hard going from high school to college to want to be a doctor, because I am the first in my family to try to pursue a medical education. So for me, one of the biggest things was not knowing what I don't know. So when I came in, it was like, hey, I want to be a biology major. I was smart in high school, did very well in high school, got to college. And I'm like, okay, I know you want to be a doctor, you got to do the science field. So one of my first things was like, I have to be a biology major. And that's one thing I wanted to mention is that's not true. You can be whatever major you want to be. The only thing is you have to take the pre-medical courses that are needed for the MCAT and to be accepted into medical school. But your major can be, whatever you want. You can be an accountant, you can be finance major and just take the pre-med courses. So I think that's important to note. The second thing is the first 2 years of your college experience I think are the most important years. It's much harder to build your GPA up than it is to bring it back down. So those first 2 years when you're taking courses that are more, the courses that everyone takes, they're not your high level science courses yet, you want to do as well as you possibly can in those first 2 years to make sure that if you do have some struggles later on, because medicine is tough and you will have your struggles and you have to, be able to maintain that and stay focused, but it's a lot harder to bring that GPA down than it is to bring it up. Or a lot easier to bring it down than it is to bring it up. And then the last thing that people said, I just want to piggyback off on is stay true to yourself. A lot of people think that you have to go to medical school and it has to be one kind of direct way to get there. And you have to do this, you have to have this many volunteer experience, this many research experiences. That's also not the case. There's something special about being different and being variable and being, your own individual. And so a lot of times in my interviews, I was surprised when I wasn't asked about, my research experience, or I wasn't asked about, why I did a master's program or why I did my master's in business administration, things like that. I was asked more, when you get an interview, they're already interested in you. And so what they want to see at that point is what separates you outside of academics from those students, because everyone's going to have the same, particularly the same GPA, MCAT, but it's what separates you outside of that makes you different, it makes you special. So they were interested in, why I played basketball, why I was a Kobe fan, things like that I put in my application. And those are the things that makes you you, and those are the things that are going to carry for a lifetime. And those are the kind of things that'll help you make you a better doctor. And you can relate to people on not just, a science level, but the different type of aspects of what's real life, that people have faced and people experience. So those come some of the things I want to bring up.
Well, you just better preach, Rick. Like you was going on, I was like, okay. I think something that I think what was something big, not that any of the other stuff that you said wasn't big, but I think something that isn't always emphasized to pre-med students and to high school students is you can go to med school and not have majored in a science major. Like that's literally okay. I think sometimes that in a way might even give you an advantage because as Rick said, it'll give you something additional to talk about. That gives you another perspective or a different aspect of medicine that me as a biology major might not have had that. You know what I'm saying? So it adds another dimension to your application, which I think is really important. And finally, as our last panelist, I want Cameron to end us off strong, no pressure. How do you stay uplifted during this journey? And what would you say to students that are feeling a little down or might not feel as encouraged as they're continuing through their journey to becoming a physician?
Oh, yes, ma'am. How everybody's doing? My name is Cameron Robinson. Everybody know me as Cam. I'm a fourth-year medical student at Morehouse School of Medicine. I also serve as Student Government Association President at MSM. And the career and the path you're going, you're gonna have some downs, you're gonna have some down moments, you have some up moments. But when you think about things that keep you going and keep you uplifted and motivated, you just gotta really start back at square one. So faith has been a very important part of my entire journey. I always knew that what's for me is for me, and nobody's gonna take it. But you do have to put the work in to get to it. And then just think about home back. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, North County, so Ferguson, Florissant. That's where I'm from. Just think back home. I went to Jack State University. Met some great friends there. Pledged there. Pro fights. I remember I had this one pro fight. I was down on myself because I was a senior and I didn't really have a plan. I knew I wasn't ready for medical school because I didn't know how to study. I really enjoyed undergrad. I had a good GPA and all that stuff. And he'll come to my room and he'll just sit. He'll sit and we just talk. And mind you, he graduated from Cornell Law School, so he's like a practicing attorney. And when he'll get off, he'll come talking like, "What's plan one? All right, what's option two? Option three?" And he was just feeding me words of encouragement. My grandmother, she was very influential in everything. She told me from day one, when I decided to become a doctor, she was telling me, everybody don't go through the front door. You gotta take the back door, the window, the chimney, whatever you gotta do to get in, you just gotta get in it and just find a way. As long as you're inside the house, it doesn't matter how you get in there. And I got a wonderful fiance, great family, but these last 4 years, I like to shout out my classmates. At Morehouse School of Medicine, we're known as a family. We got Jasmine, she's on here online. We got Sonia, she's a first year, but we all, I talk with them. We all like rely on one another, whether it's social events, where it's asking for advice. I never felt that I couldn't go to my classmates and vent. And then we got wonderful advisors here. It's open door policy. We talk from everything from stresses from school to stresses in personal life, because you're not just a medical student. You're still who you are when you got there. Life still happens. We have classmates who lost parents, who got married, had babies, a lot of stuff, and you need support at different times. And just looking at everything that I was influenced by growing up, I'm a big sports fan. I guess as I went through my career, I became more of a Kobe fan because he said something back in 2010 that I kind of live by. It was like, you got to be a different animal, but the same beast. And different situations require different versions and different parts of you that you had inside of you. So just going through and just getting experiences, realize, oh man, I overcame this, I overcame that, was a huge part. And then back in 2019, I was fortunate to be one of the students that to be named the NMA Emerging Scholar. And I remember during the speech, I was telling them, I don't really know how to code switch. You will hear some slang. I got to draw from Missouri when they went to school in Mississippi. But I had to and I went back home and just whenever time I go back home, it's always love from the kids, the youth I interact with. And I kind of realized, like, man, I'm doing it for them. And I remember maybe during my second year medical school, I'm gonna wrap up, and I had a classmate who used to be a teen. I used to play football, and unfortunately, he was shot 6 times, and he was paralyzed from like neck down. And he told me that, Kim, when I see everything you're doing and all that, I feel like I'm walking again. I'm walking through you. So just hearing like just your journey, how it inspires others, and how people look at you, and how you're not doing it for you. It's like for everybody. It's very uplifting. So on your down days, you just gotta realize, like what 2 Chainz said in Birthday Song, you gotta like what you doing, why you do it, and who you do it for. And never forget the who, what, and definitely don't forget your why.
I don't think I can come back after that. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. I just want to say, first of all, thank you all to my awesome panelists. Like, y'all are so dope. Y'all all have inspired me in each of y'all's own ways. And we all definitely need to collab on something in the future. Now that I got y'all information, like, y'all seem like really awesome people. And I'm sure the folks at y'all schools are really awesome as well. And it would be awesome to like work together across campuses and across schools. So this officially wraps up our panel. Thank you all for being here and listening to the panel. I think next I'll shoot it back to Dr. Russell Petty. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It sure
All
is.
right.
Y'all, this has been awesome. Everything that I could have imagined. And of course, we're going to continue all coming together. I think the main thing that I want you all to know as I listen to some of your experiences is we want you to now really understand that we are here for you. The different doctors throughout the state that are all part of GSMA and then the local organizations. We want you to, find out who they are. You can just, let us know if you don't already know who those counterparts are in your area through the GSMA. And we want to be there for you so that as you're going through whatever experiences you're going through, you know that you're not alone. You do have each other, your other colleagues, but you also have us as well. So y'all have been amazing. Very good, very good. And so now I believe that we are going to be able to have Senator Lester Jackson on, and it has actually timed just right, as you probably have read in the chat, that it was announced that Biden is now president, so we can now get actual update information and the future of where things are going with our new president. So, Dr. Jackson, are you able to get on now?
He's planning to join in just a second. This is his wife, Lorna. He was having a little difficult. Hi, he was having a little bit of a difficult time getting on. So I don't know if you have a minute, but if you could give him a minute, he's coming in just a second.
Yes, ma'am. The other things that I'll go ahead and say while we're waiting for Dr. Jackson, I'll just go ahead and give my remarks so that he will actually have the last word. I want you all to log into our GSMA website, gsmanet.org, so that everybody can continue to be connected. I'll go ahead and say thanks to everyone who has been part of this program. Definitely thank you to our Mayor Van Johnson here, and we'll continue working with he and Dr. Lester Jackson here in Savannah to continue to do whatever things that we can to help those in our community and to help our physicians and students and our young up and coming students. I want to also thank Kendra, who did excellent as our moderator for the student session. Again, I can't say just how much I'm just kind of overwhelmed at how well you all have spoken and all of the things you have said about your journey so far. I thank our resident Dr. Dontre Dowse for your time and being with us. Like I said, all of the student panelists. I also thank Ms. Linda James, who is the Assistant Dean for the Student Diversity at the Medical College of Georgia, who was able to connect us with the MCG students. I thank everyone that is on from our program committee, Dr. Julian Adams-Burt, Dr. David Blake, Dr. Winston Price, Dr. Kimberly Williams, our Executive Director, Dr. Shelby Wilkes, thank you as well, sir, who is the chairman of GSMA, for all your efforts and support, and all the members of GSMA, as well as all of you who have tuned in to be a part of the call. We have recorded this so that we can use this as a tool to reach out to those who were not able to be on. And so now, without further ado, we will have Senator Lester Jackson, who will end our segment today.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Yes, sir. Good.
I hope everyone can hear me. I'm sorry I am so late. We had a little technical difficulties, but I think the time is right that you have somebody in politics come to speak to you now, because this is exciting times. While you were indulging into your meeting, we have some good news. 46th president of our United States has just been elected, Joe Biden. But what's even more importantly, for the first time ever, a female will be president of these United States. I mean, will be vice president of these United States, and even more importantly, a female that has African American roots will be president of our of these United States. So, what I want to talk to you about briefly is does politics have a role in healthcare? Does politics have a role in healthcare? And the truth to that is going to be true, because now we no longer have to worry about keeping the Affordable Care Act, because the last administration talked about taking away the Affordable Health Care Act. And we know now millions of Americans would have been without health care if we allowed them to take away the Affordable Health Care Act. And now we can really concentrate and really work on Medicaid expansion. And those two items are so crucial in healthcare. Those two items is so crucial to politics. As many of you know, that in Georgia and most of our communities in Georgia, we focus on three things: crime prevention, quality education, whether it's K through 12 or higher ed education, economic empowerment for everybody, but not the least, healthcare access. I think we live in the best country in the world, where every poor child and every senior adult have access to healthcare. And that's because of our government. That's because we provide Medicare. That's because we provide Medicaid, so that everybody gets access. Everybody who can't afford it will have access to healthcare. And that's what's great about America. I mean, not just regular healthcare, access to quality healthcare. But what we find that's in Georgia and many parts of our country, that there's a group of people that I like to term the working poor. Those who work 40 hours a week, those who have access to jobs or who have professions, but either they don't have, but the jobs don't give them health care, or because of the type of work they do and the wages they get, they cannot provide health care. I mean, they cannot afford health care insurance for themselves. So they have to decide whether to put food on their table or to pay rent or to have healthcare access for their children and themselves. So that's where government comes into play. That's where we talk about Medicaid expansion to tie in those needs to the working poor, to tie in those needs of the people who can't afford healthcare or who don't have access to healthcare, to actually give it to them. That's about government. But what's even more important, we need healthcare professionals to actually give that access to care. I don't know if you read the latest statistics, but they said less than 4% of physicians in this country are of African American descent. And that kind of bothered me, because I really didn't believe it. And part of that reason is because I went to Meharry, my wife went to Meharry, and most of our friends are doctors. So we see Black doctors all the time. But the truth be told, that in the percentage of African Americans now in our country is 14%, approaching 15%. But the percentage of African American physicians is less than 4%. We have to do something professionally, but we also have to do something politically to give more opportunities to African Americans to have access to become doctors, because Black doctors, African American doctors, play a very important role. Not just giving healthcare to African Americans, but more African American physicians give treat those working poor. They treat the underclass communities, but also I like to say they understand the African American community, and they really understand the African American community, and they understand the working class. So this, to the students, you have a vital role to actually give access to the least of us. You have a vital role because you are going to be in a fraternity or a sorority that only represents 4% of this country. And your role is not just to be healthcare professionals, but your role is to be a leader, not only in medicine, but be a leader in your community. You are the best and the brightest that the African American community can produce. So we lean on your leadership, and you also have to get involved in the political market too, because young leaders like yourselves, physicians like yourselves, or future physicians need to be the leaders when it comes to social issues, when it comes to Medicaid access. Politicians need to hear from you. Talk about what it does. The reason patients, you can't treat patients properly because they can't afford or they don't have access to healthcare insurance. You need to speak up for Medicaid. You need to speak up for the Affordable Health Care Act. You need to speak up for many social issues that help Americans. That's the only way that we can continue to be the best and the brightest and the best, the brightest, and the most productive community. Millions, as I said before, that we need medical professions in underserved communities. That's why the Augusta University is expanding their medical school. Mercer University is expanding their medical class. And we also have Morehouse School of Medicine who's looking to expand, because we need more medical professionals, not only in Georgia, but throughout this country. And I'm urging you all to try to stay in Georgia, because we are one of the critical, we have a critical shortage in medical professionals in rural Georgia. But when you look at the campaign that just ended, and there's another campaign that's going to be beginning, there's going to be a runoff in, I think it's January 5th or January the 3rd. The most critical issue you're going to hear time and time again is access to healthcare. The most critical issue you're going to hear time and time again is the Affordable Care Act. So politicians, whether it's state politicians or national politicians, access to healthcare is crucial, and your ability to serve right now, being students, is so critically important, not only to Georgia but across America. And we talked about rural Georgia and access to healthcare in rural Georgia, but we also have shortages in urban areas too. So, that's my time. Someone texted me, there's time for question and answer. So anyway, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of your meeting. I think it's very needed, but I want to applaud all of the students that are going into medicine. Thank you for not who you are, but thank you for what you're going to do for this country, delivering quality access and making your community strong, making a people strong, and giving us an environment that we can all enjoy. Thank you. Are there any questions? Any questions?
Thank you so much, Senator Jackson. Yes, I actually was listening to every word that you said. All of these things are so important, so pertinent. We just have so much work to do moving forward. Again, as you said, getting more young physicians in, more young African American physicians into the workforce is so prudent at this point. I was looking to see if you had any, if there was any other questions, and if there was any other points, I definitely didn't want you to leave anything else out that you wanted to say at this time.
Well, someone texted me and said, what is Georgia doing to make sure that more healthcare professionals are being produced? And what we're doing is that we're giving scholarships to young doctors who's coming out of med school to go in rural Georgia areas or underprivileged areas, where we're giving loan repayment programs for those who work in who see a population of 30% Medicaid or more. Some rural communities are even giving scholarships to students while they're currently in school, if they would go back to their community and practice medicine. And there's some state grants that we're proposing to help ease this, to bring young doctors back into rural Georgia. Another thing we're doing, we're expanding classes at the Medical College of Georgia. And I said before, Mercer has also expanded their class size. They have a campus not only in Macon, but in Savannah, and now soon to be in Columbus. But we have to do more as a community to encourage our HBCUs to let opportunities for our best and brightest at our 7 HBCUs to gain access to our medical schools. So we need to do more for African American students that want to go into medicine, to help them get into medicine. A little bit about myself. While a student at Payne College, I participated in the SEAT program at Augusta University, the Student Summer Educational Enrichment Program. I think that's what it's called, and that prepared me for to enter into Meharry. So we need to do more things like that. That was a long answer to a short question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You do have one other question in the chat box. How do we improve on the public option benefits for vulnerable populations in Georgia in general, and social work in Georgia in particular? Southwest Georgia in particular.
Well, as a state, we are committed to put more money into healthcare access into South Georgia and to rural Georgia. I think this new administration in the federal government is going to be committed to expand the Affordable Care Act to give more access to give more access to people who need health care. But I think the number one thing that we can do is for state government is to accept the Medicaid expansion money. And the Medicaid expansion money is very crucial to Georgia, because what it does is the Medicaid expansion, it will save hospitals from being closed. And I even in Southwest Georgia, I think we closed, I think one other hospital closed in Southwest Georgia just recently in the past 3 weeks. So we need to convince legislators, as students, as physicians, we need to convince legislators to lobby the federal government so that we can receive the Medicaid expansion money. So with the Medicaid expansion money, more people can have more healthcare options. Another long answer to a short question.
Well, thank you so much. I think that was all of the questions. And again, everyone, I thank you. I appreciate everything that everybody has done to help to make this program a success. I thank you so much, Dr. Jackson, for being here with us. And, you know, I truly believe that as long as we continue to put God first, that everything will come together, and we'll continue to work towards making sure that we increase our minority students in medicine. So thank you all again. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Y'all have a good day. And this was very enlightening. I listened in earlier today. This is very enlightening. Thank you for the work that all the preceptors have done. You, Dr. Petty, and your whole entire team. Thank you for this outreach. Together, we will make Georgia grow, and together with your input, that we're going to have a better community that we all will live in and that we can all cherish and love. Thank you very much.
Thank you.